Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call this meeting to order. Allison, can you do a roll call, please?
Your worship, I confirm that I, Clerk Allison Adam, is in attendance at the Township Office. For those participating by video conference, please answer present when your name is called. Mayor Manel?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Giguere?
Present.
Councillor Widner?
Present.
Councillor Moore?
Present.
Councillor Cerna?
Present.
Councillor Lewis?
Muted.
Scott?
Present.
Councillor Galinsky?
Present.
Chief Admin Officer Adam Betteridge?
Present.
Director of Public Works Matt Sweetland?
Present.
Director of Finance Adam Boylan?
Present.
Director of Fire and Emergency Services Jeff Spoor?
Present.
Roads and Construction Manager Ryan DeSutter?
Present.
Drainage Superintendent Bob Lopez?
Present.
Manager of Building Services Scott Sutherland?
Present.
And IT Manager Cecil Coxon.
Present.
Thank you, Allison. Next order is disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof.
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mark.
Item D1, quarter revision from McGinnis Drain 2021.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the minutes. Was there any errors or omissions in the minutes? Mover and seconder for the minutes, then, please.
I'll move it.
Cerna and Moore, all in favor?
Councillor Widner?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Cerna?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Giguere?
Yes.
Mayor Mennel?
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. Next, we have a quarter revision. So I need a mover and seconder. The council of the township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the quarter revision for the McGinnis Drain 2021. Mayor Dave Mennel is chair, Deputy Mayor Dominique Giguere, and Councillor Scott Lewis. Mover and seconder.
I'll move it.
Cerna, seconder.
I'll second it.
Galinsky, all in favor?
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Cerna?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Giguere?
Yes.
Mayor Mennel?
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. And this is for the members on the drain. So mover and seconder of the council, the court of the revision from the McGinnis Drain be called to order at 7:32. And Dave Mennel be appointed chair. Mover and seconder for those,
Move it.
Lewis and Giguere, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so who have we got? Mike DeVos? There he is.
Yes,
Mike, can you give us an outline of the nature of the proposed work? And
yes, it is a small report for an extension to the McGinnis Drain downstream from its current downstream end in the Lancusen property. So there will be a bit of ditch clean out and incorporation of a water control structure. So other than that, tonight's meeting is just for the assessment, the distribution of the cost. And I am unaware that there has been any appeal submitted. So to my knowledge, there are no appeals unless the township has received some that I'm not aware of.
okay. Anybody there that's going to be involved in the McGinnis Drain? I don't see any. Any questions from council members? Seeing none, mover and seconder, the quarter revision from the members of McGinnis Drain 2021 do hereby accept the recommendations of drainage engineer Mike DeVos from Spreets Associate, and further to hereby confirm the drainage assessment as outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated October 28, 21. So those on the committee,
I'll move.
Giguere, second by Lewis, all in favor? Carried. And the mover and seconder, the quarter revision relating to the McGinnis Drain 2021 be adjourned to Council Reed at 7:34. This is for the committee members again. Lewis and Jager, all in favor? Carried. And finally, that the tender, this is open to open session. The tenders from the McGinnis Drain 2021 be awarded to Lamers Excavating in the amount of $6,090, subject to the expiration of all appeal periods and no appeals have been received to the McGinnis Drain in 2021. Anybody on council? Jager, seconder,
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. Next, we have a public hearing for the Committee of Adjustment. So I need a mover and seconder. Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Malahide be called to order at 7:35. And then Mayor Mennel will be appointed chair of the Committee of Adjustment. Mover and seconder.
Move it. Second it.
Mover, seconder.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Oh. Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. The purpose of this hearing is to consider an application for minor variance submitted by Frank Enns, application number D13MV11-21. Part lot 35, concession 4, the Township of Malahide, known as Part Lot 2, PR11R10782. Adam, can you give us an overview of the application?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Certainly, the application has been submitted in order to allow the new owners of this vacant parcel that's been recently created through the consent process to construct an accessory structure to a residential use prior to the establishment of the construction of the dwelling. And as I've noted in my report, this is relatively common, especially in rural areas or on tightly configured lots where putting the garage to the rear and establishing that first allows, provides for access and the storage of tools and equipment and those sorts of things. But to maintain the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, we have to have that accessory bit. The accessory buildings are permitted secondary to that primary use, which in a residential zone is a residence. So provided the property or soon after the establishment of a shop or garage is established, the applicant's constructed dwelling, that would meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. And the way we can do that is under the authority of the Planning Act for minor variances. The Committee of Adjustment has the ability to require an agreement. So I've drafted a simple agreement if the committee is interested in approving this minor variance. I've spoken with the applicant today. He's supportive of the agreement as well. But that agreement essentially maintains the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment. It ensures that a dwelling will be constructed in short order following the establishment of the accessory structure. I will briefly speak to my report about the drainage concerns about the associated severance. The applicants to this minor variance were not the applicants to the recent severance that went through. And as I've noted in my report, the severance was approved before one particular condition was met, and that was establishing the required drainage to be established as per the severance. So I've noted that was an error by the county. It prematurely approved the severance. So the lot is indeed created. Irrespective of those concerns, I do think that this minor variance should be perceived mutually exclusive of that severance matter. Because what this minor variance essentially does is what they have now is they could build a house today and an accessory buildings at the same time or soon after. So I don't think it's would be a wise decision to hold this minor variance up in order to secure the necessary drainage. And as I stated, the applicants for this minor variance, or the new owners of this lot, were not the applicants to the severance. So unless there's any questions or concerns from those in the public or the applicants or the committee members themselves, there's nothing further to add to my report.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Mr. Ains, have you got anything to add?
No, that basically said everything.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance wish to make comment? I don't see any questions from council. Chester?
What happens if the house isn't built?
Adam?
Yeah, so I've stated draft clauses. I put a draft agreement in the agenda this evening and put the specific clauses in the staff report. So the way it's stated is there's a time period after which within a certain period of time, we need to see a dwelling there. It's appropriate whether 6 months or a year goes by, but at some point in the near future, we need to see a house. So the drastic scenario, if a house isn't built, is we would negotiate and determine when and how the house is being built. But if there appears to be no intent from the property owners to establish a dwelling, the agreement provides mechanisms to either remove the accessory building and return it to being vacant, and securing a deposit so that the township has the ability to do that. In speaking with the applicant, and the applicants can speak to this question as well, they fully intend on building a dwelling in short order.
Mayor Manel, one more question.
Go ahead, Jess.
With how short the supply of lumber and contractors and all the rest of that, does he have more than 1 year's time to come up with a house?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if there was circumstances such as that and there was an extension, the agreement has clauses within it that would allow an extension without having to amend. So if it was for reasonable circumstances such as shortage of building materials, but there was indeed a demonstrated effort in establishing a dwelling, certainly staff would be flexible in working with the applicants, but provided the intent is there to establish a dwelling within a reasonable period of time. That's the intent of this minor variance in the agreement.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Need a mover and seconder that we receive the application. The Township of Malahide Committee of Adjustment approved minor variance application number D13MV 11-21 to permit the construction of accessory building 26 by 40 on the northwest corner of the property prior to the construction of a single unit dwelling. And the approval will be subject to the following conditions, and there's 4 conditions. And the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Malahide be adjourned and the council reconvene at 7:42. Mover and seconder.
I'll move it.
Glinski and Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Sterna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Glinski,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation from Melissa and Greg. Whoever wants to take the floor, go ahead. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Mennel. Do we have the ability to share the presentation that was submitted?
I believe so.
You do.
Don't mind, I'll wait for that.
Allison, are you kicking that on?
I believe he should have that ability. Cecil should be giving that to him now.
No, it has been enabled. If you're having any issues, let me know. I have it ready to put in place if you need me to.
I would prefer it if you did it. I have my speaking notes on this one. It'll just confuse me. If you don't mind doing it, I'm better off. That's right. Thank you very much. If I just tell you next slide, then you can do the next slide thing. Okay, so I'm here. I'm Greg Clanty. Many of you may already know me. I'm here in my capacity for the EFA. I'm the vice president of the EFA. We have a presentation from OFA. Tracy Arts is our Zone 4 director. She's been doing homeland preservation for all the townships in the county of Elgin. Tracy is our Zone 4 director. Zone 4 in the OFA, if you don't know, is Elgin and Oxford. Here in Elgin, we got a little over 1,100 members, and in Oxford, they got 1,400 members. Don't be jealous, but it's fine. The OFA, as you know, next slide. The OFA, as you know, has over 38,000 members, and they work to ensure that the agri-food sector is included and consulted in any legislation that impacts the sustainability of agriculture. I'm sure you guys already know that. Next slide. So in May of last year, OFA launched the Homegrown campaign. The key messages were preserving and protecting farmland and food production. It was a digital campaign, and it was on social media. It also highlighted the effect of urban growth that it has on our finite agricultural resources. Homegrown was a call to action for people to support the need to protect and food forever. The target audience was urban, and to date, there are over 20,000 signatures in support. So it's growing, continuing to grow. Next slide. Agriculture lands are a finite and shrinking resources. They're not making more of it. Ontario cannot sustain these losses while maintaining our ability to produce food, fiber, and fuel. Did you know that Ontario farms encompass 12.3 million acres? Or actually less than 5% of Ontario's land area. I was a little surprised by that. The 2016 census showed us that we were losing 175 acres of farmland per day, and that includes class 1, 2, and 3 farmlands. Next slide. So even though we occupy less than 5% of Ontario's overall area, agriculture and agri-food processing are Ontario's #1 economic drivers. We're kind of a big deal. In 2019, Ontario's agriculture and agri-food sector contributed more than $47 billion to Ontario's economy and supported more than 860,000 jobs. This is bigger than Ontario's auto industry. Please do not lose sight of this when making decisions about future farmland loss. Sorry, I hit the wrong button here. The OFA endorses the agricultural policies in the provincial policy statement, the PPS, which state that in prime agriculture areas, all types, sizes, and intensities of agriculture uses and normal farm practices shall be promoted and protected. Next slide. I'm on the one that says planning. I feel like, I don't know where we are for you guys, maybe a little too far. Don't worry about it. Okay, so the OFA advocates for the local planning process because it provides a framework for balanced consideration of land use needs for agriculture and development. It also allows our members and our local federations the opportunity to provide input on agriculture impacts. Yet despite the existing provisions of the local planning process, we are still losing agricultural lands in Ontario at a rate that is not sustainable for long-term food security and economic viability. Tracy uses a lot of big words in here, and she thinks I can say them very quickly. Next slide. Okay, so only 14% of the countries in the world are, only 14% of the countries in the world are self-sufficient and have excess crop production. Many countries are not in a position to meet their own food production needs. Canada and Ontario are actually producing a surplus. This is a good thing. This sets up a favorable export market for Ontario's agriculture goods, which is one reason why our sector is such an important part of Ontario's economy. We need these lands to remain in agricultural production if we're to continue to be the economic driver of Ontario's economy. The world's population is expected to rise to 9.8 billion by 2050. We're going to need to feed these people. The local planning process is a tool that helps ensure that these lands are protected for this purpose. Next slide. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up on my end. In order to feed people, we cannot afford to lose more land. The OFA expresses deep-seated concern with the recent proliferation of MZOs. MZOs eliminate the question around whether proposed growth can be accommodated through intensification, redevelopment, and in designated growth areas, particularly now that the requirement for compliance with the PPS has been removed. Use of MZOs, as we've seen lately, does not provide an adequate framework for understanding the impacts of taking land out of production. When these lands are left in agricultural production, they have the potential to continue to produce food, jobs, and environmental benefits forever. These are good things. Next slide. The OFA would like to make the following recommendations to municipalities. Fix permanent urban boundaries for all settlement areas. The requirements for using existing greenfields before new lands are designated, and an adoption of a broader province-wide policy to distribute urban growth more evenly across Ontario. Next slide. The OFA believes that providing advanced public notice for MZOs and any amendments to them is important. MZOs weaken the local planning process by providing developers and municipalities with a workaround that could cause poor outcomes later. Next slide. Once a farm is turned into a shopping center or a warehouse or a subdivision, it will never produce food again. We lose the food, fiber, or fuel that was grown on that land permanently. Unless it is made of gingerbread, that house cannot be eaten. I'll just pause here for laughter. Apparently, I don't need to. I've heard a good example would be Waterloo Region and the protected countryside policies. For decades now, they have been a leader in identifying key agriculture areas, developing hard country sidelines, and still growing the urban boundaries in high quality sectors. They gain people's support by setting up a process that allows for a better transition to intensification. Next slide. Aside from food production, farmland provides an expansive list of environmental benefits to all Ontarians. Once ag lands are taken out of production, ecological benefits like wildlife habitat, carbon sequestration, climate change mitigation, and groundwater recharge are no longer possible on that land. If you think about it, a drop of rain will not soak into the sidewalk the same way it soaks into my hayfield. These are things that benefit all Ontarians, not just farmers. Next slide. The COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the demand for local food production. Consumers are increasingly looking for locally grown produce, meats, and dairy products, hopefully dairy products. Local food production is a great way to build more resilient food supply chain. Next slide. The bottom line is we're down to less than 5% of Ontario's land base that can be suitable for agri-food, and all the jobs, economic benefit, environmental impact, and food security that that land can provide. We just ask that you consider that going forward. And the last slide, next slide is the last one. And you'll see Tracy's there. So thank you for having me. That is Tracy. Again, I mentioned she's the Zone 4 Director for OFA. She is the one who is heading this project up. But she has a meeting tonight, so you're stuck with me. I do apologize for that. You can reach her at her email there. And we also at Elgin Farmers have a website and an email and a Facebook page. And well, you pretty much know how to get a hold of us if you need it. So I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. How can I help?
All right, thank you, Greg, for that presentation. And I'm shocked when I read that there's 175 acres every day that's going out of agriculture. As a farmer and certainly parent, grandparent, that I'm really concerned about our future. So I endorse what you're doing. And there's a number of municipalities that are basically have frozen their boundaries and of saying you can't expand beyond these boundaries. If you want to have more housing, you need to go up rather than out. So thank you for this presentation, and I encourage you and the OFA for pushing this forward to the province and keeping our farmland intact. I've always been told that if you draw a line from Toronto over to Sarnia, everything south of that is the most productive farmland in Canada. And once you eliminate that, this is the breadbasket of Canada. We need to preserve that. So I certainly endorse what you and the OFA are doing.
Thank you very much.
But I will open up any questions to Greg or to Melissa. Dominique?
Mr. Mayor, thank you, through you to Greg or Melissa. So as you know, Elgin County is, the official plan is under review, and all the lower tiers are, have to align with that anyway. So are you, A, making this presentation to County Council, and B, are you making specific recommendations for ways that our own official plan could align with some of your concerns and could address some of your concerns?
So we haven't done county council. I think we went one step further, and we went to every individual municipality and spoke to every township and every municipality in the county. I think it's a lot of work. We didn't get promise, but as for specific recommendations, no, but we do have a land use planning committee. And if I were to tell you to email them, or I think they might shoot me, but you're more than welcome to do that. We have that ability at the EFA to help as much as we can do this. So feel free to email us.
I would actually recommend that you email us. My point being that there's a call to action, and I think through official plans, we can address some of these concerns. And Elgin County right now is in the process of updating and putting, parameters in place to control land use. So if I think with my county council hat right now and say I would welcome specific recommendations, it's everything is on the website right now. The stakeholders are being invited to comment and make specific suggestions. So that I would strongly recommend that if you want to advance this agenda, that would be the way to go. The lower tiers will have to align with whatever the Elgin County official plan says in the end.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take that back to our board and Tracy as well. And we should do a delegation of you guys at the county level as well, just because you enjoy it so much.
Greg, if I could just piggyback on Deputy Mayor Jaguar's suggestion. Our meeting in February is the second Tuesday in February. I would suggest that you contact our CAO and try to get on the agenda.
Okay. I will pass that along. I won't be available that night, but hopefully somebody smarter than me
Well,
is.
it's during the daytime.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah.
So it starts at 9 o'clock, so you might be available.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments from council?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To you to Mr. Fenty. I certainly agree with what the OFA is proposing. Unfortunately, we've heard this for the last 20 years that we're losing farmland, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Recently went on a drive through Paris and Chelmsford and London, and the farmland is being gobbled up, but I don't know how we can stop it, but we're going to have to, because there's not going to be any left, like you say. So anything we can do to help you, let us know, because I think it's getting worse instead of better, in my opinion, but thank you.
Absolutely agree.
Anything else from council? Seeing none. Melissa and Greg, thank you for the presentation. And once again, I encourage you to bring this up to county council. I think it's a very important issue. So moving on the second of the presentation of Melissa Schneider and Greg Fenty of the OFA relating to the homegrown campaign farmland preservation be received.
Move it.
Widner, seconder.
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis, Counselor Lewis,
Muted.
Muted.
Counselor
Yes.
Glinski,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Bob, the next thing we've got is petition for drainage. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. I have two petitions for drainage tonight. The first one is the Geesbright petition. The township has received a request for drainage. The petition is to construct a new branch drain on the south side of Nova Scotia line. This is required as a condition of Severance to provide the development with a legal and adequate outlet for their surface water. As per sections 6 and 7 of the Drainage Act, notices should be sent out to local municipalities, local conservation authorities, and the OMAFRA. These agencies have the right to request an environmental appraisal or cost benefit analysis at their own expense. So staff are recommending that council accept the petition for drainage and proceed with the provisions as outlined under the sections in the Drainage Act.
Thank you, Bob. Questions for Bob on this petition? The recommendation from staff, mover and seconder.
Move it.
Jaguar and Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
that's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, so the second petition I have tonight is for drainage again. We have two landowners, Mr. Mulwick and Mr. Dykeshorn, who have properties on the west side of Pigram Road, just south of Lions Line. Both are requesting some drainage be installed there to, alleviate some water issues they're having there. Again, section 6 and 7 of the Drainage Act states we're required to send out notice to OMAFRA, local municipalities and local conservation authorities, so they may request an environmental appraisal or cost benefit analysis at their own expense. So we are again recommending that council accept the petition for drainage and proceed with provisions as outlined under these sections of the Drainage Act.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Questions for Bob? Recommendation by staff, mover and seconder.
Move it.
Mover, seconder.
I'll second it.
Lerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. And Matt, we have the tender results on the chipper.
Yes, good evening, Your Worship and Council. This final Public Works report to this evening is reports on the results of the tender for the hydraulic wood chipper. So as detailed in the report, the staff tendered for the replacement of the township's hydraulic wood chipper in September and received bids from 2 suppliers, 2 models each, from each supplier, gas and diesel options of various input capacities. Well, these bids do conform to the tender specs prepared by the equipment committee. The various demonstrations provided by the suppliers did result in some concerns by the equipment committee relating to long-term performance and safety in comparison to the existing fleet. So while the replacement of the chipper is included in the township's approved budget and the tenders are compliant, it's the suggestion of the equipment committee that the tender not be awarded. With that said, to alleviate some concerns relating to continual breakdowns of existing fleet as previously reported to council, it's suggested that improvement recommendations be brought to the 2022 budget committee to extend and enhance the service life of the current unit until the replacement is deemed imminent by the equipment committee. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Questions for Matt? Seeing none, mover and seconder, report number PW 2208 entitled Tender Results Hydraulic Wood Chipper be received. Tender PW 21-10 for the procurement of hydraulic wood chipper not be awarded at the recommendation of the equipment committee, and that remedial measures for the existing fleet be brought to the 2022 budget committee. Mover and seconder.
I'll move it.
Moved by Widner.
I'll second it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. Next, we have a severance application. Adam?
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is the severance of an existing lot on Superior in Springfield. It's being split into 2 closely, almost equal sized properties. This is another scenario similar to the minor variance we dealt with earlier, where the creation of the severed lot will have an existing accessory structure on that lot. So pretty typical severance otherwise, but I have added a recommended condition, whereas a condition of severance that a simple development agreement, which will require a dwelling to be established in short order, be imposed. So other than that, there's really no concerns with this application. The existing lot itself is rather long and narrow with like a shallow depth to it, but it does meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw in its ability to establish a residence on the newly established lot. So any questions from council, I'm able to answer.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Questions for Adam on the severance? There's a recommendation from staff and there are 11 conditions. So I need a mover and seconder for that, please.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder.
I'll second it.
Jiguer, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And Scott, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you've got the next one on the building permit activity.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Tonight I've got the 2021 Building Activity Report. As you can see, 2021 was a fairly busy year with a high number of permits. New home starts were down a little bit compared to the last few years. I think this was mostly due to there not being a lot of condensed developments such as small subdivisions or large severances last year. And also the construction value is fairly consistent with the last 4 years as well. As you can remember, last year, construction value was up quite a bit, mostly just due to the Terrace Lodge development. With the Terrace Lodge development cost removed, I believe the construction value was around 34 million, which is still higher than what this year's was, but kind of still within the regular range. Other than that, if anyone has any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Questions for Scott on the building permits? Seeing none, mover and second, report number DS 2205 entitled 2021 Building Permits Activity Report be received.
I'll move it.
Galinsky, seconder.
Second.
Moore, all in favor.
Counselor Winder,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And Allison, you're doing the multi-year accessibility report?
Yes, so through your worship, this report is simply a housekeeping item as the township is required to prepare an annual accessibility status report based on the strategies outlined in the multi-year accessibility plan that the county has assisted with preparing this year and for the next 5 years, actually, for the lower tier municipalities. I don't have anything further to add from what is outlined in the reports. If you have any other questions, I can answer those.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Any questions for Allison on accessibility plan? See none, mover and seconder. I gotta get my. The report number 2022-01 entitled Multi-Year Accessibility Plan be received. Municipal staff are requested to post the Elgin County and local municipal partners joint multi-year accessibility plan 2021 to 2026 on the township website. So mover and seconder for that, please.
Move it.
Moved by Widner, second by Jiguer, all in favor?
Counselor Winder,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Next, we have reports from outside boards. There's only one from Long Point. Any questions or comments? Motion to receive and file then, please.
I'll move it.
Sarna, seconder.
Second it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Winder,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Next, we have correspondence, and there is,
I have a couple if I could.
go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got number 2, the Township of South Frontenac regarding concerns with joint and several liability costs to municipalities. And number 5, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food regarding CN Rail's reluctance to adhere to the Drainage Act that is delaying many projects and causing a lot of frustration. Thank you.
Okay, so you're suggesting number 2 and 5. Anything else? All right, so we're suggesting that we support number 2 and 5 and receive and balance the following. So mover and seconder for that.
Move it.
Moore and Serna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Serna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes,
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Okay, is there any other business?
I have some if I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like at this time, I'd like to sincerely congratulate Diana Wilson in her long-deserved retirement. I've known Diana since she was 14. I think she's a little older than I am, I'm not sure, Diana. And she has never changed. She's always been a genuine, sincere person. Diana has always looked after the township and staff and some counselors, and it was greatly appreciated. The meeting reminders and the ability to answer inquiries were also a great asset. I especially remember the time when, as a young girl working at her dad's store, someone took her new price bicycle. I took it upon myself. Now, this is the way I remember this time, to recover your bicycle and return it to you. And she was so happy. But anyway, enjoy your retirement in Long Point, and thank you very much for your years of service.
I echo those comments.
Thanks, Mark. I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you.
Next, we have a request from the Elgin Group of Police Service Board. Adam, do you want to deal with that?
Through you, your worship, I really have nothing much to add to this report. I can follow up with council if there's any questions.
I think it makes perfect sense. I know there's going to be a reorganization this coming year, and they're simply just asking for Dan Froese to carry on until they've changed the construction of the board. So it makes perfect sense to me. Any questions? Mover and seconder that Dan Froese be reappointed to the Elgin Group Police Services Board as a joint representative from the Eastern Elgin area until the ministry approves the board composition. Mover and seconder.
Move it.
Moved by Widner, seconder
Second. I'll second it.
Moore, all in favor.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Serna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. Next, we have a report from the county. Matt, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, through you, your worship, this piece of correspondence comes from Elgin County from a request that came from Malahide Council. As the segment of road in question by this report is under Elgin County jurisdiction, the county did complete an engineering assessment of the requested area with the specs and standards set out in various guiding documents, including a Transportation Canada manual. And per the county report, the combined height and gradient in the area results noted do not suggest embankment protection is warranted on the requested section. And that's what my take from the report has been. If there's any further questions from council, we can certainly follow up with the county.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And certainly I agree with you. We requested this at the request of the property owner because there has been some incidents in the past and the county did an assessment. And as you said, under their criteria, it wasn't necessary to put up guardrails. So certainly we appreciate them looking into it, and that's the end of the story. So questions for myself or Matt or Deputy Mayor Jiguer? Seeing none. Moving second, the County of Elgin correspondence dated July 11th, 2022. The report for the County of Elgin General Manager of Engineering, Planning and Enterprise dated December 21st, 2021, related to the safety review on Imperial Road entering Port Bruce be received.
I'll move it.
Jagger and Serna, all in favor?
Counselor Winder,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Serna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. Now going to bylaws, mover and seconder, the bylaw number 2205 being a development agreement with Frank Inns relating to property of part lot 35 concession 4, known as 6791 Richmond Road, be given a first, second, third reading and properly signed and sealed. Mover and seconder, moved by Lewis, seconder,
Second.
Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Winder,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Serna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. And mover and seconder, bylaw number 2204 being confirmatory bylaw, be given a first, second, third reading and properly signed and sealed.
Move it.
Mover,
I'll second it.
Serna, all in favor?
Counselor Winder,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Serna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Oh.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. And finally, mover and seconder, the council adjourn its meeting at 8:15 to meet again on February 3rd at 7:30. Galinsky and Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Winder,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Serna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
and that's carried.
Okay, thank you all for attending. Good night, folks. Stay safe.